Almost 2 decades plus, and we are blessed with Gladiator 2. And you may wonder, how does the sequel tie into the first film all these years later? Well, quite well. Sort of.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Gladiator 2 feels like an unnecessary sequel that feels like a bit of a rehash of the first film with some plot points feeling like it's a repeat, but it does well enough to stand out on its own. Let me explain. The aspects of the film that are its strengths would be the performances, cinematography, and the action. Starting off with the performances, the cast did a tremendous job. Everyone brought their A game, with Paul Mescal doing a great job as Lucius. His intensity and delivery were outstanding, and he was a very effective protagonist. He did his job well as sort of the new age Maximus, aka Russell Crowe from the first movie. He really did a good job capturing that intensity that Russell Crowe had in the original one, in my opinion. Adding the fact that the supporting cast did a great job as well. Connie Nielsen and Pedro Pascal did well in their roles, along with Joseph Quinn. But I think the standout of the movie, which everyone agrees with, is Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington was just entertaining. Granted, he was kind of playing Frank Lucius, aka Denzel Washington, just being Denzel Washington in Roman times. But it was just so captivating whenever he was on screen, no matter what happens. Every time Denzel was on screen, he started talking, the crowd went crazy. They were locked into what he was saying, and it was just entertaining. He definitely stole the show whenever he was on screen.
My nigga.
Moving on to the cinematography, it was amazing. Bringing back John Matheson, I hope I pronounced that right, as cinematographer was a great call. Seeing how he worked on the first film back in 2000, a lot of the shots of Gladiator 2 feel like a bit of a modern version of some of the shots from the original film, but also serve as homages to iconic scenes in the first film. So I think it was really good to have the same cinematographer come back, and seeing Gladiator 2 in IMAX and the cinematography being so well done, I think it made it worth it to buy that IMAX ticket. I think with Ridley Scott, any of his films that have great cinematography, that's just a given, because there's just an eye for cameras that man has that I have to respect. I think every Ridley Scott movie looks beautifully shot, and Gladiator 2 joins the pantheon of those films. And lastly, the action was really good. There are moments in the film where it slows down to tell the story, which is fine, but it gives enough time to ramp up the next action set piece, and there are a few good action sequences. I think the ending battle was personally my favorite of the film, and throughout the movie there's these little battles in the Coliseum which I think are really well done as well too. It definitely has a good balance of calm, trying to tell its story and its narrative, and these bombastic action sequences, and I think all the Coliseum fights were really, really cool and badass. However, I will say the two aspects of Gladiator 2 that I feel are a little bit of a mess for the film, it would have to be the story and the runtime. I'm going to mix these together because they kind of go hand in hand. So the story was fine, but it kind of goes in the category of like, did we really need a Gladiator 2? Because the fact of, we know what happens in the first film, Maximus dies. What story can you tell with it? Well, it's his son. He's gonna get revenge 16 years after the original film. This is when this film takes place, 16 years after the first film. And, you know, there's ways to say, like, they do an okay job explaining what happened in that time frame for this to be credible as a sequel, but at the same time, it kind of, it's like, why is this happening? Like, if this was this film on its own, it would be fine, but the fact that it's following up such a great film in Gladiator, it's just like, this story just feels like it was kind of cobbled together. And that can smoothly transition to the runtime. So Gladiator 2 clocks in at 2 hours and 46 minutes. I'm telling you, there was times in this film it felt like it was going for 3 hours. Now, I'm not going to say that it was boring 2 hours and 46 minutes. It just felt like there were points in the film where the film could have ended and kind of just put a bow on it, but it kind of kept going on until that last scene happens, and you're just like, oh, that's it. I think maybe about 15 to 20 minutes could have gotten cut, and we could have gotten like the Gladiator 2 Ridley Scott director's cut on DVD. But, you know, I just think the film was a tad bit too long, and I don't even know if the first one was that long. I think the first one was about like 2 hours and 20 minutes and some change. So they added 20 more minutes for the sequel. But I think, like I said, take off 15 to 20 minutes, we would be fine with the runtime. Gladiator 2 was released on November 22nd, 2024 on a budget ranging between $210 million to $310 million. As of this time of this review, it has grossed $334.8 million at the box office. Overall, Gladiator 2 is an entertaining film. It may be a bit underwhelming compared to the first film, but it does enough to stand out on its own. It'll be interesting to see where this ranks during the award seasons next year. And I'm going to give Gladiator 2 a final grade of a B+. So let me know down in the comments below, did you see Gladiator 2? Were you a big fan of it? And do you prefer Gladiator 1 or Gladiator 2? Until next time, I've been Mac from Mac Movie Reviews, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace! Hey, if you like this video, make sure you check out one of my other reviews on my channel, and stay tuned for the next one.